Here I have a few examples of the card that we're going to make today. I want to show you, this one I created using Distress Oxide on the blossoms, but what I want to show you is all of the dimension that we have here. And I'll show you a trick so that we get these flower blossoms so they're very stiff to help in the mailing process from it becoming squished. Also, on the bucket, if you see, we've got dimension there too. And you can see it from the from the side and from the front. It just doesn't pick up very well on video. So this is another example of the card we're going to create, and this one I left blank so that I can just take a sentiment strip when I decide who I will send this card to and just attach it right here on the bucket when I'm ready to send or give this card away. So let me set these aside. And next I want to tell you a little bit about a website that I use for my shipping. And because these cards have a lot of dimension, they can tend to be a little bit thicker than the 1/4 of an inch that's allowed for a standard first class forever stamp to cover the postage. So what I do is basically when I make these cards, I only create them for those really special people. And if I am mailing them, I will use the Go Shippo. It has discount shipping, and for the USA, a first class package or bundle, however you decide to send out your card, whether it be in a box or a padded envelope, it can range from $3.50 to $4.50 anywhere, depending on where in the U.S. you are and where in the U.S. you're shipping to. They do have international shipping. The fees may vary. I did not list any of the fees since I know there are attendees from all over the world. So I would suggest you go to the apps.goshippo.com and check that out for yourself, whether you use it for shipping a dimensional card or not. Okay, next I want to show you some examples of where I get my color inspiration from. I have the Sarah Renee Clark color cubes, and in the cubes they have these cards, and there's approximately 500 of the cards, and they're each numbered, and they have a photo with the color combination example on the side. It also has the colors on the back. The color names are not very consistent, but it does give you the number for using, I believe that's for digital colors. If you're doing it on the internet or something, the number is referenced underneath to achieve that color. Anyways, so I have a few here, and this one here is basically the key inspirational colors with an exception of these two shades here. I use the peach, the dusty purple, and some greens. So I wanted to show you these, and if you wanted to reference them yourself, the numbers are 272, 401, 413, and 267 in the color cubes. And if you don't have the color cubes, what you can do is go to Pinterest and put in the search color combinations for lavender, color combinations for dusty purple, or something color combinations for lilacs. That's another free option. Okay, next on my show and tell, I have the die sets that I'm using to create this card. The first one, whoops, that was sticking to the back. The first one is the lilac die set from Spellbinders, and it shows you two examples of color combinations on the front also, and examples of the leaves. These dies are designed by a lady by the name of Susan Tierney Cockburn. And what she does with the dies is she'll put, I'm not sure if you can see that, the number of times you should cut each of the individual dies with an exception of the leaves. So in order to make a full lilac flower, it suggests you cut the blossom die 3 times. You'll need 1 of the large bumpers, 2 of the smaller bumpers, and however many of the leaves that you would like. So that's that one. And then I'm also using, this is called Geranium and Antique Wooden Bucket. And it has the flower blossoms for creating the geranium. And I'm not sure if those are leaves and those are bumpers. I'm not sure what those are. I would have to research that. But I'm just using the bucket as the holder for my flowers. Okay. And what's next? Next is the embossing folder that I'm using is called Tuft, and it is also a Spellbinders product. And it has nice pillowed, kind of quilty looking pattern on it that I'm using on one of the layers. Okay, I'll be right back and we'll get started. To start, I'm going to show you how I color the blossoms and the leaves with Copic markers. I'm starting with a V25, and I'm just going to create V-like shapes on each of the petals and in the center. And I'm only doing 4 of the blossoms because I didn't want to bore you to tears with coloring all that are cut out to create the flower. So just create those V's, and it's leaving some space for the second color and for a white highlight. And the reason I like to do when you're doing the Copic coloring, it's going to take quite a bit longer to color all of the blossoms. The next color is BV00, and I'm going to do another V just above the previous and then blend that a little bit. Another V, leaving the tip of that petal white. I was saying, I forgot what I was saying. If it's important, I'll think of it again. Just continue creating the V's above the previous V's, leaving the white highlight. I think I was saying something about, it does take quite a bit longer to color the flower blossoms with Copic markers. It's not a fast process. I also colored the back of the blossoms just with the second color. These are the undersides. You may see portions of the underside, but I do the same thing. I just create the V's, leaving the tip of the petals white. Like I was saying, it does take quite a while to color the blossoms with Copic markers, but if you do the ink blending, it's more difficult to blend and leave the white highlight the way that I like to do it. I mean, you could, but I think that would be more work. I'll show you an example of how I like to do some ink blending to color all of the blossoms with the purplish colors. Okay, for the leaves, I'm going to use G28, G46, and G24. Starting with the G28, I'm going to create a vein and then flick out from the side to create little offshoot veins. Oops. Same for the second one. Create the middle one. That one's pretty thick. Just flicking those offshoot veins so they come to a point. Oops. Then G46, I'm going to blend this out just a bit. I think I need to take off the top cap before I soak the ink all over the leaves. End up with a one-colored leaf or two-colored leaf. If you didn't know, if you have a Copic marker that seems to be dripping ink or has too much ink, if you take off the opposite cap, it will, I guess you could call it, prevent that vacuum effect from happening, and it will, gosh, what's the word I want to use? It will, anyways, I think you understand what I'm trying to say. It'll prevent it from leaking all over the place. Now, blend this out. Making sure to get all the way to the sides so that the sides don't show any white. One thing that I forgot to mention is that when creating the dimensional flowers, I use one of two types of paper, either the Heartfelt Creations Deluxe Flower Shaping Paper or the Spellbinders Susan's Garden Specialty Cardstock. Both of them have properties so that if you get the paper wet, when they dry, they become very firm. They both have a little bit of texture to them. The Susan's Garden Specialty Cardstock has more of a texture, but the Heartfelt Creations does have a slight texture to it also. And both are safe for Copic coloring. So there we go. These are the leaves. And next, I'm going to set those aside and we're going to come back to those. Next, I'll show you, I have a piece of that specialty cardstock, just a scrap that I'm using, and I've gone ahead and daubed some of the Distress Oxide inks. I like to use either Distress inks or Distress Oxides, and the reason for that is that they both react well with water. Let me get my paw here so I'm not chasing my ink pad. And this color is Dusty Concord, or Concord, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And what I do is I'll just go and blob little dots with a finger dauber. It's not a problem if you don't blend them well. I like to leave little white spots, and we'll come in with a second color. This just gives when we add the water, it blends very nicely and gives them some interest, some textured interest. Second color is Shaded Lilac. I never know if I'm pronouncing that right. Lilac. I'm not sure which is correct or if both are acceptable. I'm doing the same thing with this color, just pouncing it around. And we're just about done with this one. But like I said, I do both sides of the card so that there's not an overabundance of white showing, because the flower blossoms will have shape. Let me clean this up and we'll move on to the next step. I forgot to ink blend the bumpers, and I'll explain more what the bumpers are in a second. It's kind of self-explanatory, but I'm using, this is Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide. Now, this is going to be the underside of the flowers where you place your blossoms. And if you'd like, you can use the same colors that you do to Copic color or to ink blend your flower blossoms. But in the example that I've seen, it was done in green, and that's the only reason why I've chosen to do green. I also like the little bit of contrast that it gives when there's a little bit of green peeking through. So I'm just blending on this one color. Set that aside, and the second bumper, or one of the second bumpers, on that. And I'm not doing on camera all of the ink blending and the Copic coloring, just to save time, because it does take quite a while to do all of the colors, or all of the coloring. Okay, next what I like to do is I have a bottle. This is pearl powder in white gold. It's a beautiful shimmery powder, similar to pigment powders by other brands. I believe it has a binder in it, and what I do is I use about 1/4 teaspoon, and I use an empty bottle. This is just an empty hair product bottle that I cleaned out, and I add that with water and shake it up. I also identify what I have in the bottle so that I don't confuse it with something else if I were to have another bottle the same type. So just shake that up, and I had mentioned before that when you add water to the specialty paper after it dries, well, first of all, it helps in the shaping of the flower, but it also will give it the shine from the pearl powder, and when they dry, they become very firm. So that helps to keep the look. If it were to be mailed, they won't be crushed. So it'll keep that dimension. So you don't have to do the leaves, but I'm going to give it a try this time. I've done all of the leaves dry previous to this. Next, I'm going to set these aside. And I have this is a flower forming pad, and it comes in a kit from Spellbinders, and it comes with this tool-in-one with several attachments. It comes with a tweezer. Here are all the attachments for flower shaping. It has a large ball stylus. I have the medium ball stylus here, and there's a smaller ball stylus and 2 shaping tools, and also a leaf tool that is very pointy, and it will help you scratch the veins into the leaves. It comes with some leaf pads, and that is a firm white pad. It's thicker than regular cardstock, but that helps in the shaping of the leaves. And I think that's it. It comes in this bag with this. These are the reverse tweezers in the pointy shape. I'll show you how we use those. It helps with the shaping of the flower. So next I'm going to take each of these flower blossoms. It looks like I have some glue on there. Each of the flower blossoms, put the tweezers on one of the petals, and then come from underneath and pinch that around the tweezer and pull it out. So you do that for each of the petals. Twist it. Just a second, Maui. And pull it out. And set that aside. I will be right back. So off camera, I've gone ahead and done a few more of these flower blossoms, and they are still wet. Just pinching each of the petals around the end of the tweezers. Pulling it out. Pinch, pull, pinch, pull. Next, we'll take, this is the medium stylus. Actually, I think we need the small stylus for this. Let me change the tip of the tool to the small ball stylus. This has a very tiny tip, and to remove this tip, you just push down on this little slidey thing, and same to replace the tip. And I turn it, make sure that it's snug in there after I release it. And next what we're going to do is just push in the center with a little bit of pressure and take it off the end of the tool. And that's going to cup the flower blossom. Do that for each of them. After I cup each of the flower blossoms, then we'll want to let them dry before we move on to the next step. For the leaves, we'll use the leaf pad to start, and I'm going to use the pointy curved leaf tool. We're just going to start at the tip and drag it, giving it a medium amount of pressure so that we create that vein in there. And then from the center going out, and I use the vein marks that I've colored into the cardstock as my guide. Whoops, a little bit too wet there. Use a little bit lighter pressure. And then the next one. Now I'm being shy to give it too much pressure now. I'm afraid that I'm going to snap. There, I did it again. Just take that little piece off. So when they are very moist, the cardstock will tend to tear. So you can either let them dry out a little bit, or just be very gentle when you're drawing in those veins. Next, we'll return to the flower forming pad. This is I'm not sure if I showed you already. Set this aside. This is just a thick piece of foam that has, I'm squeezing quite hard, it has quite a bit of spring to it, and that helps in forming the leaves and flowers. I'm going to change back to my medium ball stylus. No catching. Come on, catch. Oh, here we go. There we go. Oops. I guess there's a little, I'm not sure if you can see inside there, a little bump where it points and it catches on the grooves. So, oops, I forgot, we need the tweezers first. With the tweezers, I'm going to, from the top, put this right next to the vein through the center and squeeze that and give it a little bend on one side so that it bends, and then you can form it by creasing it in half. And next, pull out the sides of the leaf and press it down while pinching the center. And take our stylus, give it a little rub on the underside, and that will give our leaf, you can open it up a little bit, and that will give our leaf lots of dimension. You can curve those down a bit, you see. Do that one more time with this leaf. Put the tweezers right next to the center vein. Bend it up on the one side. Remove the tweezers. Crease that in half. Then pull those apart while holding the very end of the leaf. And then kind of give it a squeeze and push it down to have those sides jet out. And give them a little rub with the ball stylus. There we go. I like to open them up a little bit so you can see that inside detail. We've got all that dimension. There we go. Let me clean this up and we will come back and finish up. I forgot to press record when I started with this. So I have this giant ball stylus. These come in a set. I believe there's 5 in a pack, and they have varying sizes of stylus ball. And what I've done with, this is a bucket that I've got and colored off screen. I take the ball stylus and in a circular motion go over the inside of the bucket, creating all kinds of dimension on that bucket, so it will be 3-dimensional. You notice that it's very curved, and what I like to do is give it a little push in the middle and with my thumbs, push on the outside with my top fingers, and that will give us a curved shape for our bucket. And we'll glue this part down since this is the back of the bucket. Set that aside, and these are the bumpers I was telling you about earlier, and I'm going to flip these over. You'll need 2 of the small ones and 1 of the large one for each of the flowers that you create. I've gone and changed this to the large ball stylus, and what I do is just come around the edges of this large piece, pushing down, then I'll do some circular motion in the center, giving all kinds of dimension to our bumper. And I'm not sure if it's actually called a bumper, that's just what I named it. And then, there we go. So now we have a curved shape to our bumper. This will be covered up, so all of these little creases here won't be a problem. So we have 2 of those now, and then repeat the same process. Circles, circles, circles. Around the outside. There we go. I'm going to set these aside for a second, and we are going to assemble our card. Let me get the pieces. So I have several pieces. This is the piece that I embossed with the Tuft embossing folder by Spellbinders. And this piece is 3.5 by 4 3/4. The next piece is this is a burlap with a paper backing, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. That will go underneath the embossed panel. Then I have a white panel measuring 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and a folded card that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, and we are just going to glue these down. I'm going to fast forward this while I just assemble this card. Give it a little push. Squeeze that glue out. If any needs to be squeezed. A little bit crooked, but that's okay. Next, we use our burlap piece. And I prefer the wet glue to any kind of dry adhesive. You can choose whichever works best for you. This is just my preference. Then we'll give it about 1/4 of an inch. Actually, this one's only going to be 1/8 of an inch, I believe. Or not 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. A little bit crooked there. A little bit crooked. My rings. Give that a push so that glue grabs hold. And our final piece. I always like to get quite a bit of glue on when it's embossed like this. I use the parts that are sticking up on the underside. Make sure we get the glue on there and around the edges. This is an adorable embossing folder. I really love the way this looks. And this one will be 1/8 of an inch. Hold that down for a second until it grabs hold. Still need to hold it. I think what we'll do is get an acrylic block and have that set on there while we get the rest of this stuff going. Oh, we forgot a step, or I forgot a step. If you notice, let me give an example. I have 2 cards here, and there's a product called Prills, and those are just little balls that you can use as the stamen for the flowers. And what I use instead of that are the faceted gems that you use in diamond painting. And what I've done is gone in, used the light color on this card, and used a green color on this card. So you can get a closer look at how I really like the way it looks much better with the green than the white. I think it looks, I like the contrast. That just is more appealing to me. So let me set those aside, and what we'll do is take our dried little flower blossoms and a few of the Prills. Let me get a tweezer, little detail tweezer. What I do is just grab the flower blossom by one of the petals, squeeze a dot of glue in there, Pick up one of my little gems here. Just drop that in there. Sometimes they like to flip over on me, but I'll just wiggle them around until it gets into that glue. Come on now. It's only doing this because I'm on camera right now. I did about 40 of these off camera, and they all went fine. Whoops, slippery suckers. Okay, try again. Little dot of glue inside. Pick up one of the gems. Oops, those are slippery too. Drop that in there. Oh. Gosh, I am having a time here. There we go, drop it in the glue. And I use acrylic matte medium, and the reason I use acrylic matte medium is that when the glue dries, it dries clear, but it also dries matte, so you don't have that normal shine that you get when you use other glues. That is my preferred source of sticky. Come on now. There we go. Now it's sticking to my tweezer. And the other one flew. Okay, let's see how I'm going to set these aside and let them dry. See how we're doing with our card front. Next, we are going to take some foamed adhesive squares, and we will pop this up. What I like to do is put them in the center, leaving a little bit of a ridge there. And leaving the sides free so that they can be glued down. And same on the bottom, leaving area open for this to see if we can get that to stick to the glue. Gosh, I have foam squares sticking to my fingers now. These are the tiny ones, so I have to use a million of them. A couple more. There we go. Where's my little poker? Use my poker tool to get these papers off the back. I'm going to be right back while I remove all of these papers. Next, we are going to assemble our card. Here I have the bucket, and I've taken all the paper off of the double-sided adhesive foam. And now what I'm going to do is, on this top part, I'm going to put glue all the way here. This is going to be the back of the bucket, so I want that to lay flat. Then I'm going to go all the way around the bucket and put this glue as close to the edge as I can get it. A little bit. Let's see. Get more on that edge. I really want to stay close to that edge as possible. There we go, and no, I don't need any there. Okay, and now make sure my card, oh, I almost put it upside down. Okay, here we go. And I want this to come down to the bottom of the card. Like that. I got a little bit of glue on the edge there. Here we're going to push this down. We want that to stay flat, because that's going to be the back of the bucket right there. And I'm just holding down these edges till that glue grabs hold. So we'll have all that dimension in the center of the bucket from the foam squares, but the glue, or the sides, are glued down in the back here. Then we're going to take this piece, and I think it goes here. Is that where it goes? Yep. And I'm going to glue that down to the back, because that will be the inside of the bucket. You won't see very much of it, but I didn't include this on the other cards, and I noticed it. One of those things that the card maker notices, but nobody else probably will. There we go. Come on now. I'm just going to push that up to the top of the edge. Come on, move. Move, move, move. There you go. Hold that down till the glue grabs hold. Okay, next what I've done with the bumpers is with a large bumper, I put one towards the bottom third or so of the bumper, and one of the small bumpers I put 3 foam squares in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm putting it horizontal, and I'm going to stick it right to that inside, or that foam square on the large bumper. And then we're going to glue this down to the inside, or I'm sorry, the top. First we want to get this guy here. These might not, I wanted to put a little bit of glue on the lower bumper so the top bumper will stick to it on the sides. Then around the edge, just like I did with the bucket, try to keep it as close to the edge as I can get it. I'll poke this into the top of the bucket, give it a little angle. I'll suck to my tweezers, and then we'll hold it down. It's going to take a second for that glue to hold, so I'm just going to sit here with my fingers. I suppose you could use a tweezer or something, a reverse tweezer, to hold that down. But what that's doing is giving us a lot of dimension towards the bottom and then tapering off towards the top of this flower. Okay, grab on. Come on, glue. And like I said before, these little creases, they're not going to really matter. It's just, it'll be under all of the flower blossoms. I've gone ahead and adhered. I'm going to try to do this 2 at a time. 2 things at once. Multitasking. Grab hold of that with my tweezer. And glue all the way around. Oh, first we have to put the glue on the bottom bumper so the top bumper sticks to the bottom bumper. This is not sticking. Then all the way around the edge, as close to the edge as I can get it. A little bit on the flat part there. And on the inside of this. And then just poke that in there, give it a little bit of an angle. Oh, I forgot the other bumpers. Well, they're not necessary anyways. It'll just make it more difficult for the top bumper to stick down. I'll be right back while I wait for this glue to set up. Okay, we are in the home stretch now. Let's start. I have my glue pot here, and this is, I use the lid as my glue holder because I'm not going to fill this whole pot up with glue, but I use this and I let the glue set out a little bit so that it'll become more tacky. That helps with adhering the flowers, and then I just dip the bottom of the blossom into the glue and adhere that to the bumpers. Whoops, I'm dragging it around. I try to get them to interlock so that you can't see a lot of the green behind it. I like to see some of it, but not too much. Get the blossoms all glued on. And so I am just going to speed this up a little bit because it's like watching paint dry. Just see me put all of these little blossoms on. You'll see me fuss with them a little bit. But here we go. I'll let you listen to some music while I'm adhering the blossoms.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, I have to make more flowers and I'll be right back. So now we're just going to wrap this card up with a sentiment strip. I have free sentiment strips that you can download. The link should be included below. And if you print your sentiment strips with a laser printer, you can foil them with the Eco foil for use with toner images. So here we go. Take a look at all of that dimension. We've got lots of dimension on this card. We've got it on the bucket here, on the flower blossoms, on the leaves, all kinds of it. And I did want to let you know that you can use this technique with any die-cut flowers or even other die-cut images like balloons would be an example. You can also create flowers with die-cut shapes like ovals or circles. Die cutting a circle and making a couple snips in the circle towards the center would create a nice flower that you can use a ball stylus to give those give the paper some dimension just by following the technique that I've shown you. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.